All right, we are live. So, welcome to Retire Japan TV, where we talk about personal finance, investing, retirement, and life in Japan. And I'm really thrilled to be joined today by Andy Boon, who is a professor at Toyo Gakuen University. I've known Andy for a really long time. So, he was actually the first person I thought of for today's topic, which is talking about working at university in Japan. So, it's a topic that we've had requested a number of times. So obviously, a lot of people come here to teach English. I think all three of us did. All three of us originally came here as teachers, and we've gone different ways. But one of the ways that people go, and one of the ways that people want to go, is through university. And I think there's basically three kind of really good ways to advance in English teaching in Japan. And one is university. One is having your own school or business if you're that way inclined, and the other is working in private schools. And those seem to be the kind of career paths for English teachers. And we're going to be talking about the university path, what it's like now, what it was like in the past, and maybe what it's going to be like in the future. So welcome, Andy. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And I think we've got to start with the origin story. So how did you come to Japan? Because I've realized I don't actually know this. We've known each other for a long time, but I don't know how you ended up here. So how did you come to Japan and why did you stay?
Well, I'll do a long story, but short story. I left school at 16 because I hated education, ironically. I had a really bad experience at high school, and I got out at 16. And I did the YTS scheme back in the days of Margaret Thatcher. It was a 2-year scheme where you get a day release to college to study business, and you get a very, very low salary, but you work 4 days at a company. So I did that for a couple of years, and I got a job in insurance and realized that I hated the office job and I wanted to look for something else. So I was watching the movie Dead Poets Society, my all-time favorite movie. And then it hit me during the movie, this is what I want to do. I want to teach. So I traveled for a few years, went back to university, and I finished my degree. And then I was going to teach literature at further education colleges, which is 16 through to 60, 70 years old. But during the time I was doing teacher training, I saw a job saying, please come and teach in Japan, teach English in Japan. And I was like, well, why not? I'll go there for a couple of years. And that's how I ended up in Japan. So I did Eikaiwa, a conversation school teaching for 4 years. I left Eikaiwa and I did a lot of business English teaching in the evenings and the mornings. And I got my first foot in the door of a part-time university position. And that led to more part-time, eventually a contract, and then tenure. Yeah.
Right.
That's quite smooth. Was it all at the same university?
Kind of. What happened, and networking is super important here in Japan. I was a conversation school teacher, and I was going out, meeting people, and it's all related to football. I used to drink in Footnicks, and I got talking to this guy in Footnicks because I went to the toilet, a goal had been scored. I didn't know who had scored, so I come out and said, who just scored? We got talking. He was a university teacher. We became friends. And then he was the one who got me into a part-time position. And it's very, very difficult to get that break because a lot of universities want to see university experience on your CV. So you end up in this catch-22. I need university experience to get a job at a university, but how can I get a job at a university without university experience? So I was very lucky to I think I did about 4 classes for COMA. COMA is like a 90-minute period. And that led to more part-time work. And another person that I met who was working at another university offered me part-time. And then there was a Japanese professor from Toyo Gakuen who was working part-time at the university and said, hey, do you want to work at my university part-time? And then, so it all, my part-time positions kind of snowballed and increased. And I then started to give up the business work. And basically it was, I started at Toyo Gakuen in 2005 as a part-timer. And the dean came and found me at the end of the first semester with a letter saying that all the part-timers were going to be let go at the end of the year. But I was welcome to apply for a contract position, because what they wanted to do was hire 6 full-timers at the time. This was a contract position for only 3 years. So I applied for that and I got it. So that was really, really lucky. And then because it's only a 3-year contract, I started to look around after the first year, because usually it's a 5-year contract or a 6-year contract. These days it's 5. And so I got offered a full-time job at somewhere else. And then the president kind of said, well, we don't want to lose you. If we offered you, I think the first deal was, if we offered you tenure at the end of your contract position, would you stay? So I asked for some thinking time, came back, and I said, well, my heart says stay, but my head says go, because the school that I was going to would be a higher level. It's quite a prestigious school. And then the president turned around and said, well, if we offer you tenure from the start of the next academic year, and I was like, okay, I'll give you an answer in 24 hours. And I did, and that's how I got into the tenureship, really.
Wow.
From someone who's not in academia, can you explain what the difference is? You said you got the contract and then you got tenure. Can you explain what the difference is between having a contract and having tenure?
There are 3 positions at universities. One is as a part-timer, which is called hijokin in Japanese. A tokubetsu or tokunin position means that you are full-time but not tenured, so you're on a limited contract. And recently, with the changes in contract law, employment law here, which was introduced by Abe, the idea was that if you're in a position for more than 5 years, you can claim full-time. So now universities want to cut you before you can claim full-time. So a lot of the contract positions used to be maybe 3 years plus 3 years. Some were 9 years or 10 years, but a lot of them have now gone to 5 years because they're worried that teachers will claim the full-time golden ticket, if you like. So that would be a tokunin position. Each school has a different name for it, but it's contract. It's not, you're not full-time, so you don't get the benefits of full-time employment. But a lot of people are on these contract positions where they do 5 years, and then in their last year they look for another contract position, and so you get this like revolving door of teachers working at different universities. In fact, one of our contract teachers was working with us. He went to Toyo, and then he's now back at Toyo Gakuen, and he's in his final year. So you get this, like, the revolving door. But for some people, it's okay. And then tenure means that you're full time. There's no limit to your contract as long as you don't do something incredibly bad and get fired. So.
Okay. Is there a big difference in salary between those?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, each school has a different salary system, but usually the lower paid are the hijokin, the part-timers. Contract is much higher salary. There's maybe more responsibility. But then tenure, you get a lot more you got many perks. So, for example, you might get retirement money at the end of your contract. You might get a research grant, personal research grant that you can use. There are lots of nice perks with tenure.
Yeah, I think it depends. Because I was on a contract with my previous university, but we got everything. So we got retirement, we got research, we got everything. We got salary increases, but they claimed we were researchers, so we wouldn't have gotten tenure for 10 years.
Right.
Claimed the exemption. I think you can challenge it in court, and we didn't bother. But we got let go at like the 8-year mark. So
it happens.
There's this kind of stereotypical image of a sort of, you reach the end of your sort of professor career, and at that point yes, job is safe. You're going to be paid by the university, whatever you do, and so you can sit in your study and do what you want all day, basically, and still get paid. Is that correct, or is it not how it works?
Well, I guess it depends on the individual. I mean, when I was given tenure, I always remember the words of the president, because I'd been very active doing conferences, presenting, publishing academically. And the president said, please continue, you know, don't just sit on your bum. And I have a personal goal each year of at least 2 academic publications, but that's my personal goal each year that I try to achieve. We do have to do a research report at the end of the year that is checked by personnel department. And there you have to declare, you know, the work that you've done for the university, but also outside of the university, any academic presentations, any academic publications, commercial publications, anything deemed academic can go on your research report. I don't know what would happen if your research report was empty. Luckily, I haven't had that situation yet.
And so can you choose how much teaching you want to do?
For a tenure position where we must do 6 classes. If we do any more than that, we're in a lucky situation where we get paid extra. We get paid overtime, which is great. You can't do less than that. You've got to do the 6 classes.
Yeah, that was the same for mine. We were on 8 as contract lecturers, and then the permanent people had 6, and the professors might have had 3 or 4 because they had lots of committee work and stuff.
Yeah, if you're like a head, then maybe you've got 5 classes because you've got extra duty. Yeah.
And this is probably a really basic question, but at which point can you call yourself a professor? Is it as soon as you get tenure, or are there ranks?
No, there's ranks. So I went in at associate professor, and then I became I went in as assistant professor, and then I became associate professor, which is Junkyoju in Japanese. And then I had to wait many years before I got the nod to be professor. And they told me that the idea of becoming professor was based on publications, and also committee work.
Right.
So I had to become deputy director of the English department for a couple of years before they would give me the professor.
And now you have a PhD, I believe. So is that also required to reach that?
No. I started the PhD. First of all, it was an extrinsic motivation because I thought it would help me in the career market. Because at that time, when I started, I wasn't tenured. But then I immediately got tenure. But then I thought, well, I want to see if I can do this. So it became intrinsic motivation for me. You know, do I have the intellectual ability to do the PhD? And that kind of spurred me on.
So for people wanting to follow your path, they don't necessarily need a PhD.
No. It is getting more and more competitive. The career market is super competitive. When I got my first job at university, I was finishing the master's. So I was on a master's. I hadn't finished. I had 1 module and the dissertation to write, but they allowed me into university on the promise that I would finish that master's degree. Now, for a part-time position, you would need masters and probably 3 to 5 publications. So the bar has moved.
I got my first full-time job. With an unrelated master's. So I had a master's degree in Chinese and politics. And that was enough to tick the boxes. Whereas now, for the same position, the same university is asking for a relevant PhD. So that's the kind of escalation we've gone through, from unrelated masters to related, and teaching masters to a PhD. In like 15 years.
If you're looking for tenure now, you would probably need a PhD. You would also need a much higher level of Japanese than I've got, which will be Nikyu or Ikkyu. So yeah, things have changed. It's much more competitive.
If you are able to, if you got that level of Japanese and you wanted to work in university, are you still sort of restricted to English related or teaching related stuff, or are you
Not
then able
necessarily.
to compete?
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, if your Japanese is good enough, you can teach in Japanese, then there's no reason why you couldn't do content-based courses in Japanese. I have friends who do that.
Oh,
There's also universities that have English language courses. Like
Yeah.
my uni does lots of engineering and material science in English, so they need teachers for that as well.
Yeah. I mean, my specialism is English language teaching. It's applied linguistics. So, yeah.
And so the big question overall, then, people thinking that this sounds good. How much would you recommend it as a career path for other people earlier stage than you?
I used to say that I would recommend it, but I think we are entering into uncharted territories at the moment in Japan. Unlike other universities, so when I went to university, I went late because I worked and I traveled. I started university at 23, and I was thinking I was going to be old and surrounded by 18-year-olds, but I was actually one of the youngest in the class, because people will do a career change in the UK and go back to university, at any age. But Japan, the career path is set out. It has to be 18. You might take a year out as a ronin, and you might be a year older, but you're looking at 18, 19-year-olds, and that demographic is decreasing year by year. So universities are fighting for fewer students. So at the moment, we're in scary times where a lot of universities are closing, or I don't remember the name of it, but I saw one said from 2025, we're no longer going to take first years. So they're going to start the winding down of the university. So I do worry about the future. So if you are younger than me, then it would be a very big concern. I've got 10, 11 years left of work, so it's a concern for me as well. But yeah,
it's something like a third of unis are probably going to close, demographics wise.
I think I saw a statistic. There was like 1.3 million 18-year-olds only in Japan. So everyone's trying to get a slice of that pie. So unless universities, well, let's face it, to be controversial, Japan has to change and has to bring in immigrants in all factors to be able to survive, in the health, in the hospitals, in nurses. And if they want to survive, they need to bring in foreign students from, I don't know where from. Japan is a wonderful country to live. It's very appealing for foreigners and for foreign students to come and do a degree here. So, and of course, with the depreciation of the yen, it's cheaper. So there is the opportunity for universities to branch out and bring in foreign students. They have the capability to do bilingual courses. You could come to Japan as a Chinese student. You could learn Japanese. You could learn English. Then you're trilingual. With a degree going into the labor market. So I think that's what they need to do. But I think
you're not seeing signs of that just yet.
No, I'm seeing more signs of I'm seeing more signs of we're on the Titanic and there's the iceberg, and let's go full steam ahead. So yeah, so that worries me.
So the career itself is good, but the job security in the future is not so rosy.
I would worry about that. I always say to anybody to have a plan B and a plan C. Always in my life, I've had a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. So always, I've been very lucky because since I've come to Japan, I've had constant employment over 26 years. I've just entered my 20th year at the university, so super, super lucky. I haven't had any periods of unemployment, but it could be that might happen in the future. So, if you come to Japan, take the opportunity to learn Japanese, which I failed to do miserably. But if you do take that opportunity, then at least you've got another, string in your bow in case the teaching doesn't work out. So my advice is always have a plan B.
Speaking of that plan B, you have published various things. I think mostly academic works, I should think. But I guess that's also a kind of fallback for you in a way, isn't
it? I've done lots of academic papers, but I've also written commercially as well. So I've
through
written
a proper publisher, through a big publisher.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So I've written textbooks and graded readers. So the market is saturated. You don't make a great deal of money. I know, Ben, you've done this for OUP.
I have.
You don't make a great deal of money. You can't live off it. But it's nice pocket money, shall we say?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it really interesting. It was fun, but it wasn't a lot of, because I think in the past people used to write textbooks and they were the author and they'd get royalties and things, and now it's like this project management thing where the publisher patches it together and pays you for your time.
That's right. So now there's a lot of fee-based work rather than royalties, and of course royalties have their own risk because you've got to sell the book. So if you're on a fee, at least you're guaranteed some money if no one ever buys the book. But if the book does well, then it's to your detriment. So there's a balance between royalties and fee-based work. But these days, as Ben said, the publishers are more interested. They kind of like build a team, and then you're one of the team, a small cog in a big wheel, and so you get paid for that fee. So the royalties have they're not as prominent as they used to be. So
is the benefit of that kind of publishing really for your career rather than side income?
I see it as a hobby.
Oh.
I when I was a kid, I loved horror, big Stephen King fan, and I never thought I'd get to write and publish horror stories, but hey, I've done it. So
you do fictional?
I do fiction. I do easy readers for language learners.
Oh, I see. Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. I write nonfiction and fiction, and I see it as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go.
So for those listening to the podcast, Ben is now showing. Can you move it back a tiny bit, please?
Yeah.
Brainstorm.
That's a sci-fi one.
Wow. Oh, wow. By Andy Boon. There we go. Well, oh, and somebody in the chat has said Dark Tower, my favorite. Is that?
Yeah, Dark Tower, Stephen King. That's a Stephen King book. Yeah.
Oh, Stephen King. Okay. Thank you, Artin.
I've just written. I love Japanese horror, and Kuchisake Onna is a Japanese myth, and so I've just written book 1, book 2, and book 3 is now out, and it will be hitting X Reading soon, which is like a Netflix of graded readers, and that brings the trilogy to an end. So I really like reading the students' comments when they read the horror, and if they found it scary, it's really fun. So I see it as a hobby.
Okay, so switching from the university side for a bit, how do you get into publishing that, or into like getting a publisher? Was that again university background helped you there, or?
No, it's all about networking again. So unfortunately, every English teacher wants to write a textbook. Every English teacher wants to write a graded reader. So it's super.
I thought it was just me,
because it always happens. And it's very difficult. So one of the things that I did, especially as a part-timer, now as a tenured professor, if I want to go to a conference, well, it used to be within my budget, but the yen has depreciated, and sometimes international conferences have gone too expensive with their flight tickets. But one of the strategies I used to do is I used to volunteer for conferences to organize a conference. This had many benefits. One, I would get to meet lots of really interesting people, work as a team, and I would get to meet the publishers. I didn't set out to do it for that reason. The reason I did it was because it usually involved getting into the conference for free and maybe a hotel room as well from the organizing team. So I worked for JALT National for 14 years as the poster sessions coordinator. I worked for the JALT Pan-SIG conference. I was their publisher liaison. So they need someone to liaise with the publishers to sell booth space at the conference. And I did this for JALT Call as well. And I did it for many conferences. So I got to know the publishers. And then I was one of those teachers going to the publishers, hey, I'd like to write a book, or I'd like to write a reader. But a few of them actually listened to me. Oh. And the way I got into it, what I call grunt work, which is maybe they're going to write a book and they want teachers just to look at a sample unit and review. So I got into it by one of the major publishers sending me a sample unit and saying, can you give us some feedback on this? And I think I went way beyond the call of duty on my feedback, also suggesting alternative activities. And suddenly that morphed into, would you like to work on the book? And that got me into it.
So it's not just networking, but it's also hard work as well.
Yeah. And then, when I used to drink with the best of them, and we used to have conversations. And that's how I got into graded reader writing. There's a guy called Darren Halliday who was working for Macmillan at the time. And I think it was over a beer. He said, hey, do you want to write readers for our new series? And that's how I got into writing for Macmillan. And now he has his own publishing company, Halico. And I do a lot of writing for them.
Wow. Yeah. It seems like for that sort of career path, you've got everything set out. You've got your tenure, you've got your PhD, you've got your professor, you've got the books. Where is next for you? Like, is there anything else you're aiming for?
Yeah, semi-retirement. I don't know. I think I've ticked a lot of the boxes that I wanted to do in my life, and I'm looking at 10, 11, 12 years before I retire. So it's now a question of what do I do? Do I continue to do this? Because I love what I do. I love the classroom. I love the writing. I'm working on new projects now that hopefully will come to fruition. So do I continue this, or do I throw caution to the wind and give it all up? And I used to be a bartender for 7 years, and I loved it. And I was offered a job as a bar manager or a teacher training, and there was this fork in my life, and I ended up doing the teacher role. But who knows, maybe if the number of students decline and all of the schools close in Japan, I'll go back to England and pull a pint for people.
Oh, right. You wouldn't necessarily stay in Japan?
I wouldn't necessarily stay in Japan.
Sounds like you're pretty sorted, though, at the moment.
Yeah.
Which contrasts with your kind of pessimism to people who might want to be interested in taking this.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's a beautiful country to live in. It's safe. It's clean. It's a comfortable way of life. I like that I can walk the streets and I'm kind of left alone. Nobody bothers you. When sometimes I love Indonesia as well. My wife's Indonesian, but sometimes when you walk the streets of Indonesia, someone will try and sell you something, or someone will try and get you on the motorbike to go sightseeing or something. You don't get that in Japan. You don't get people in your face wanting things. So it's a very, very nice country to live in. I've had a really good 20 odd years, and it's been great to build my career. So but you've got to come in with your eyes wide open and look at what's going on. Look at the yen to pound or dollar is really low. The cost of living here is quite good compared to the UK. I went back to the UK in February, and wow, it's expensive. But where is Japan going? Because another problem that I see with Japan, when I used to go back to the UK 20 years ago, the yen was high, the living expenses were high in Japan, and I felt rich in the UK. But because we've had a period of no inflation in Japan and salaries have been stagnant for 20 years, the UK every year, the cost of living goes up, inflation increases, and the salaries increase with it. And that's happening globally, but Japan has stayed the same. So then if you want to come to Japan and live in Japan and travel in Japan, then it's going to be a very comfortable life. But is it going to be a situation in the future where if you want to go on a holiday anywhere, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg because the yen isn't there and the salary isn't there? Because while the rest of the world has increased its salaries, then Japan's stuck in 25 years ago, you know?
Yeah,
Is that
last year, we normally went to Thailand on holiday.
Yeah.
And last year we looked at it and it was much cheaper to go to Okinawa than
Yeah.
to go to Thailand.
Yeah. I mean, the cost of things now in Japan, I mean, as you know, I love my curries. You know, eating out in the UK, when we came back from the UK, we went to the local curry house and it was like, wow, converting it into pounds, I was like, this is so cheap.
Yeah.
You know, that's my worry, is that, you know, Japan hasn't kept up. You know, it's a positive thing because you know, there's nothing more depressing than, you know, the price of the train fare going up. Like I saw in the UK, they were interviewing commuters who have to pay for their, you know, their pass. One of the great perks in Japan is that you don't pay for travel to your place of work. It's paid by the company. This is fantastic because when I was in the UK, 20% of my salary went on the bus to get to work, you know. But here in Japan, it's paid. My wife has come from Indonesia and she used to have to pay her part of her salary to get to school. Now she's working part-time at a Kaiwa conversation school, and they pay her to go there and back, and it's quite far. So that's a huge perk. But you know, we've benefited in Japan with the prices not going up, because I freak out when I go to the supermarket and the prices have gone up again. But then our salaries haven't risen. Like my part-time university, the salary I get per class has remained the same since I started there 17 years ago. Now, 17 years ago, that was a fantastic salary, but you know, now it's fantastic for Japan. But if I want to take that money outside of Japan and go on a holiday to Thailand, then, you know, where it used to be cheap, now it's going to be much more expensive.
Is that the same at all ranks of university life, do you think?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Whether they'll
it's definitely a worry in that, you know, in a way, if you're younger, I think once you're, you know, settled, it's different.
Yeah.
But if you're younger and you've got a choice,
yeah,
like, do you leave Japan now, or are you not able to leave Japan later, basically?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people go at the right time. You know, if you're young and you want to come for the experience, it's an amazing place to come. The culture is amazing. There's so many great things to see. You'll have a great time. But whether you're going to build your life here with a family and children and all of that, then, you know, I'm not. I hope Japan will turn it around, and there'll be some kind of solution. Like I was watching a show on YouTube about new freshers at the workplace and how one company was recruiting international workers for the company, and so they were getting trained in English, or they had like an earpiece for the translation. And I thought, wow, this is good, because that could be one way forward for Japan, where they are bringing in foreign workers to help out where you know there are gaps in the workforce. And then for English teaching, I still have a job because they'll need language training. So the mark, you know, it would still be there.
Do you think things are changing then, because they're sort of slightly loosening visa restrictions for workers? They've finally dropped the sort of negative interest rates. They've had the labour unions got the 5% or something historic pay rise agreement for big companies at least.
Yeah,
feels like it might be a turning point. Do you think?
Possibly. I mean, Japan in the past has always changed very slowly. In the pandemic, it had to change quickly to deal with the problems of the pandemic that we faced in the pandemic. It was great to see the university change to online teaching and online meetings because the technology is there. And they did it within a week, which was
really? Which doesn't sound like a Japanese university to me.
We're all going to use Microsoft Teams. Learn it. Okay, brilliant. So it is possible to change quickly. They can do it. So, maybe it's going to get worse before it gets better, and then it might get better. I really hope so. Yeah.
So you're kind of pessimistic, optimistic in the middle there, I think. A bit of both.
I think I'm naturally pessimistic because then I can only be happily surprised if it be around. But if they don't, then I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. So for those wanting to come, it's great. Teaching in the UK or probably teaching in the States is quite challenging. The students here are lovely. Some of them are eager to learn, and if they're not, it's always the interesting challenge is how to motivate them. And it can be really rewarding. I've done a lot of things here that I probably wouldn't have been able to do if I'd stayed in the UK. The opportunities that have come my way, it's been great. But I think I'm naturally pessimistic.
I think plan for the worst and hope for the best, right?
That's right.
Make sure you've got your plan B, C, D.
Yeah, I always do plan B and C and D all the way through to Z. Yeah.
Speaking of which, given that we are a personal finance channel, what are you doing then in terms of personal finance, in terms of pensions and so on? So you're going to be a Japanese pension, maybe a UK pension?
I'm lucky because I do follow your channel and I try to do some of the things. Maybe I'm not so great at it. I'm paying into the Japanese pension as part of being tenured. So I will get a professor pension. I haven't paid into the UK one. I do have the opportunity before March 25 or something to do the back payments.
Do it.
Yeah. The trouble with me is I've never actually decided where I'm going to end up. Will I end up back in the UK? Will I end up in Indonesia? Will I end up in Japan? I just don't know.
The nice thing about the UK and the Japanese pensions is you can get them anywhere. So
yeah, that's good. So I'm permanent resident now. I applied for that a couple of years ago. My friend back home, he's got a Filipino wife, and trying to bring her into the UK was an absolute nightmare, plus incredibly expensive. I was able to get my wife's visa renewed for 5 years, and it cost 4,000 yen and a bit of paperwork because I'm permanent resident. So, I mean, it's so nice, and immigration was so friendly and helpful that, they were really super helpful because I got the wrong forms and they were really, really kind. Whereas if you tried that in the UK, then they'd want your arm and 2 legs, and they'd probably shout at you for having the wrong forms and reject you anyway while taking your money.
Keep your money as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so but yeah, personal finance. So yeah, I think what I try to do is work a lot, try and earn more than I spend. I try and live very frugally, and think about the future and save. I'm very careful with how I spend my money. I think very carefully before I part with it. there's not much that I need. We don't have children, so that's a huge expenditure that we don't have. I don't drink, so I save a lot of money that way. I'm older now, and instead of going out on the town, I prefer to stay home and watch Netflix. But you know, it's a fine balance between living for today because life is short. You know, I've had friends pass away at a young age, and it really brings it home that, well, you know, maybe I should spend some money, and maybe I should live my life and do what I want to do. But then you've also got to balance that with, well, maybe you'll live till 90 or 100, and then you need the money to do that. So I think it's like living frugally and not wasting money is what I do.
We're very much into that deliberate spending, right? Spend on things that matter, and don't spend on anything else.
I enjoy the game of looking for the bargain. So you know, we go supermarket shopping every Saturday, and we go to 3 different supermarkets in the neighborhood, and they all have special deals on. So it's all about like knowing the prices, because the prices of the products are different in all 3 supermarkets. Some are cheaper, you know, like onions are cheaper over there than down there, you know. So it's just knowing that. It was funny because my wife said to me on the weekend, we need to buy rice again. And I was like, oh no, we need to buy rice again. I wonder if I'll get a 10% off voucher from the supermarket because I've got the app. And then today, what happened? Boom, I got a 10% off voucher. We went for rice for 10% off. You know, it's a small saving, but it's the game you play. And, you know, it all adds up in the end. So,
yeah. We did a similar thing a while ago. I went to get food for the weekend or for the day, only if it was 50% off. And so if you go at the right time, the discount stuff. And so you can't be fussy when you do it. Does this go with that? I don't know. But I got my whole basket. Only things are 50% off, and it feels really good at the checkout. That's a really cheap meal I've got.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a weird meal, but it's a cheap one.
I think it was about a year ago. I was picking up a bento for my wife because she was working late. And I got to the KO supermarket in the station, and I was looking, I'll get her this bento. But then out of the corner of my eye, I saw the guy with the discount sticker machine. So I thought, I'll hold back a while. And then, boom, I think it was 40% off or something. I was like, okay, now I'll buy it.
And there's people around here that wait, holding the bento until the guy comes, and then they hold it out to him and get the sticker.
I wouldn't be that brazen. I wouldn't be that brazen, but
you can do that.
It's like it's like today. I'm running out of blades for my razor, and I did some shopping on Amazon last year, and I got a really good deal on Prime Deal for blades. So I was looking at the supermarket for the price of blades, and they're horrendous. And so I was on Amazon today, and I read the comments, and someone recommended a different brand of razor. And so then I bought this pack on Amazon with 16 blades. But then if I add the subscribe and save, I get 10% off, which I can cancel later. So I saved like 400 yen on the purchase. And I got 3 items for it.
Speaking of which, I just got a new razor that uses those you know, those old school single blades that you wire into it, and they cost like nothing basically. So
that's another thing that I saved up, because I used to go to the barbers, but then in the pandemic I bought clippers, and of course I haven't got much hair left now. I could just do it myself. I learned how to exactly. And so instead of wasting 2,000, 3,000 yen on a haircut, I just do it myself.
Join us, Daniel.
I did for a while. It was like that, and then
for me, it's not even the money; it's the time. Like going to get a haircut takes a couple of hours, and doing it myself takes 3 minutes. So
it was amazing though, because I used to get the shave as well, and there was nothing like that. The Japanese barbers are the best in the world. I mean, if you're new and you're coming to Japan, go to the barbers, because it's an incredible experience. You know, they'll cut your hair, there's shampoo, there's a massage, and then you sit back, they put the hot towels on your face, and they get the cutthroat razor out. It's just amazing. It's
He
such a
keeps asking me, do you want to shave my forehead?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Is that what other people do? I don't know.
yeah.
Does it need
Wait a second.
Let them do it. I let them do it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They're so good. Yeah.
That's how I
So
keep in touch
can you
with
see
baseball
yourself
and-
being in Japan in the future then, Andy?
Well, I don't know. My parents are getting older. I don't know what's going to happen there. My wife's family is in Indonesia. She has a house in Indonesia. So I just don't know where we're going to go. And Indonesia has a fourth largest population in the world and a growing economy. I don't know. I'm happy to stay for now, and I'll see what happens. I think our school will be okay for a while, and I'm happy to keep working there. I think I just live year by year. I have to renew my apartment every 2 years. It's up for renewal next year. We're thinking we'll keep renting because it has that freedom. I know a lot of people think it's like dead money, but we have no kids to pass an apartment on to. You know, if you think like an apartment is what 30 million, something like that to buy, and then you've got to pay all of the taxes as well, and then if something breaks, you've got to get it repaired. You know, if something breaks here, I talk to my fudo-san, and then it's fixed. And
yeah, like unless you can commit to 10, 20 years, I don't think it makes sense to buy something.
right. Yeah. So I think we just play it by ear and see. But I think the most important thing in life is to have options and to renew those options, like mentally from time to time, especially if you're feeling stressed. So often I walk around the river with my wife and talk about, well, maybe we can do this, or maybe we can do that, or, you know, we just weigh up the options. And at the moment, we're happy here. I'm really happy. My wife really loves Japan, and she's having a really positive experience. She's teaching young ones, so she loves it. Yeah, we'll just see what happens. But whether I retire here, whether I retire in Jakarta, which would be busy traffic, but never mind, or back in my hometown, I'm not sure. I did enjoy this.
For a pessimist, you're quite positive, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Wow. And on that note, thank you so much for joining us, Andy. This has been, it's actually, it went in a completely different direction. I wasn't expecting this whole like philosophical treatise, but that's better. It's actually worked out better than just talking about unis. So
yeah,
thank you so much for the interesting chat.
Right.
And yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
With the apartment renewal and the decisions and everything. So
yeah, thank you very much.
Nice chatting with you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, and best of luck with your channel. It's on the up and up, so please keep doing what you do.
Definitely. All right. Thanks, Andy. Have a good night.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
That was so awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah, I enjoyed that. What an interesting guy. Yeah.
I was not expecting this to turn into like a really nice discussion about values and so on, eh?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I couldn't ask really detailed stuff about the university because obviously I don't really know much about that. But it was interesting just hearing the career path and the fact I hadn't considered that universities will be hit as well with the dollar and the salary freeze and lack of inflation over the past 30 years and the lack of 18-year-olds.
yeah, it's critical, like the what's happening there. But I really liked his final point about options, and it's something that I try to remind myself of, that a lot of the time you're just choosing to do stuff, aren't you? You know, anytime you're stressed and you're like, oh, I've got all this work, but you chose to be in that situation, and acknowledging that it was a choice makes it easier to deal with. It makes it, you know what I mean? It takes away that, oh my God, you know, I'm being done to, and it gives you agency, and I find that really comforting. So I love that point at the end, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, good. You should go and watch it. Watch it again.
But I just wanted to say just quickly, it's so nice having you back. It feels like it's been
yes,
months, since we've had you on the show, and it wasn't the same. It's like, you know, John Wick without Keanu Reeves, you know.
Oh, thank you.
The
Yeah, it
Fast
is
and
nice to be
Furious
back.
without Vin Diesel, like, just doesn't work.
Yeah, I've had, I don't know if people are aware, I've had trouble with my back again. Had a slip disc that kind of reoccurred, and yeah, it was just too painful to sit up for quite a while. But it's getting much better now, thank you.
Woohoo, to our benefit.
Yeah, I enjoy this as well. It's nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but this year for me has been the year of health.
Yes.
So
I thought you were going to say hell there.
Not quite
Back
that
to
bad.
work.
But yes, I got a coach finally. I was like, okay, this is it's time to get serious about health. So I paid a huge amount of money for coaching,
Health,
and it worked. Just, you know, not that they taught me anything new, but just having that accountability. You know, just having someone who's like, all right, what are your numbers like? Are you doing your homework? And I'm like, yes, kind of.
They give you advice, I guess. It's not just...
Yes, I mean, it's advice, it's kind of tweaking, but more than anything, it's just, you know, are you doing your workouts? Are you sticking to your diet? You know, and the biggest thing's been just tracking calories and things. Much like personal finance, you know, where you sit down and you track your spending and you're like, oh my God, how was I spending all that money on stupid rubbish?
Subscriptions.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't done that yet. Oh no. Maybe next time. But yeah, so it's the same thing. So I was like, oh my God, I was eating so much more than I thought I was.
Right.
You know, when you actually sit down and track each little thing that you eat, it's incredible. So
it's funny you said that, actually, because just about a week ago I had to go and get the results from my health checkup thing, and I've switched. I used to go to the big hospital, but then there's a local, I cannot remember the name of it now, but it's kind of a local health association thing which you can join for 1,000 yen forever. And then it's a smaller clinic. They've still got an x-ray machine there, and it's ever so cozy. The average age of the people that visit is pretty high, but they're ever so nice.
You're a young whippersnapper.
I'll bring it down. And they're much more sort of personal, I suppose. They're interested in each individual person that comes through. So when you go and pick up your results, unlike the big hospital where you just they send it by post, actually, you pick up your results and you still have to go and see the doctor to get your results so they can chat about it with you. Anyway, I did all that. And then just as I was leaving, the nurse came up and said, excuse me, have you got time, just to have a quick chat in my office? There's something we want to talk to you about. That's not what you want to hear at a health checkup. Right. I was suddenly like, oh my God, I'm dying. I better tell my wife. No, it turns out I am 1 centimeter over the waist, not dimension, measurement. 85 centimeters is for the limit for men, and I'm 86. And therefore I got caught, and so they go through my habits and my lack of exercise and then my eating habits. And I thought I was quite good. But when, just like with your sort of, working out your spending, when she actually asking me these questions, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I do eat quite a lot of sweet stuff in particular. But kind of similar to the coach, she wants to see me again in a month's time. And instead of saying, you got to cut down on all this stuff, she's just saying, right, let's just try the evening snacking. Don't have anything after dinner, which I tend to do. And then we'll see how it goes. So come back in a month's time, and then hopefully we'll be under the 85, because I don't need to do anything really radical, but I need to improve a bit. So yeah, similar to you, I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to account for myself in a month's time when I go and see her again. And it's motivating. It makes a difference.
And it only costs you 1,000 yen, unlike my service.
Are you comfortable spilling the beans about how much you're paying?
I'm going to wait. So it's a year. I've paid for a year of coaching. So I'm really happy with it. Really, really happy. So at the end of it, I think I'm going to write it up on the blog, or maybe do a video.
Okay.
And spill the beans and share the service too, because I think they've done a great job so far.
Okay.
But I want to give them the chance to do the full year.
Right. Okay. And then we can evaluate if it's worth it.
And everyone will be like, "You paid what?"
Right. Well, going back to the chat we just had. It's all about sort of what did he call it? Not decisive spending. Yeah, maybe it was decisive spending. It's like you spend on what you think is valuable to you. Conscious spending. That's it. Yeah.
Deliberate, conscious spending.
Deliberate.
Yeah. For me, it was like, okay, so if I don't get my health sorted out now, it just gets harder and harder, doesn't it, as you get older?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Good on you.
And that's one reason I haven't been keeping up with Retire Japan. The other reason is I've been forced to go back to full-time work.
It's a hard life.
So so I should change the title again to No Longer Retired Japan.
Right. But this is working for your wife in the school, is that right?
Yeah, my wife has a language school, and we had a not particularly great year last year, so I'm helping out this year.
Yeah, is it going
and
okay?
if we can turn it around, then I will no longer be helping out from 2025. So that's an added incentive for me there.
And so how's it looking so far?
It's going good. Obviously it's really busy, and I don't mind the work. I really like the teaching. I love my classes, but I don't like being scheduled. And the problem with schools is that you are by definition scheduled for basically the entire year. And I would rather not be. So that's always been my issue with this kind of job, where you don't have that flexibility where you're like, okay, I'm going to take off a few weeks here, and then I'm going to work really hard for a few weeks next, and so on. So, which is what I love about kind of freelance work. You can choose to knuckle down now and go somewhere for 10 days and then come back, and you can't do that when you're teaching a certain class at a certain time every day. So
that's true. Yeah. So if you're comfortable talking about it, what's the thing? The issue with the school, is it lack of students? Is it lack of finding teachers? Is it escalating costs?
Yeah, it's entirely as Daniel Priestley would say, and I love, I don't know if you know Daniel Priestley. So he's the oversubscribed guy. He's the key person of influence guy. Really fantastic speaker.
Australian, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, Australian, lives in England now. But it's all about leads. So it's leads. We don't have enough young students in particular coming in at the bottom of the school. So we've got students. It's very much like the university. So demographics, perhaps. So we keep students for a long time. We've got loads of older students, which is great.
Right.
But we're not getting new younger students coming in at the bottom. So eventually, much like Japan, your population kind of dies off. So that's the issue we need to fix this year, and we need to fix it by just working on marketing, because we've never really done marketing. It's just always worked out, and I think that's not going to be the case in the future. So you have got an option to try then to fix things. Yeah, and I mean it's a short to medium term project, because we'll probably want to retire in a couple of years anyway.
Oh, okay. Right.
So it's all about what kind of shape can we get the school into so that it's self-sustaining and can carry on even if we're not directly involved with it. Right.
Good luck. So you'll be working full-time until then, basically, I guess.
Yep. So you may have noticed that I haven't made any YouTube videos recently. That's why. But I'm hoping this will change from about May, because things settle down a bit after the first month. Oh, okay. All right. Because we just started classes on April 2nd, and it's chaos. Anyone who's worked in even regular schools, but especially Eikaiwa kids schools, those first few weeks are just like, new classes, new students, new parents. Right. Lots going on. I'm sure people are aware, but just in case, the academic year starts in April in Japan, not in September. Although I'm not sure about schools, but universities are starting to consider switching to a September start date, I think. Some unis, and it's well, I mean, R1, it wasn't so much switching, but they had 2 intakes. So you could start in April or you could start in September. And of course, the international students tended to arrive in September. So that's how they're trying to. I think it'd be great. Because that would be a compulsory kind of half gap year for Japanese students, which I think would be really good for them.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
If they couldn't start till September and then they finished high school in March, that'd be great. Like, take 6 months off, travel, work, relax for 6 months, and then go to uni. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
Might solve the the restaurant worker shortage as well, because
the
entire population of high schools would be looking for part-time work.
Yeah. I tried to encourage our son to take a year off before university, but no, he was happy just going straight away. I think it's a good opportunity to get some extra life skills, I suppose. But
yeah, I didn't. So I didn't take a gap year. Most of my friends at uni did. So I was insanely jealous of these stories.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Cool. Well, we got a bunch of stuff on the agenda, news and things. So next, we got a mixture of sort of personal stuff from both of us, and then just sort of looking at some recent news. Oh. This happens when I'm on work calls as well. I work at a US-based company, and so people in America think it's fascinating that we have a lady talking to us in Japanese to tell us that the bath has filled up. The ultimate luxury for them.
Oh, you've got a fancy bath. I see.
I don't know, just like it fills up, and then she tells us when it's ready.
Yeah, my in-laws have got one of those.
Right, so you've got a mixture of news and stuff. One thing I noticed, although it's actually happening next year, but Amazon. So, Furusato Nozei, the tax scheme, sort of the hometown tax scheme that we've talked about a bit. Recently, I've noticed that Amazon are really pushing Amazon Pay, and so the major sites like I forgot the names now. Furunabi, Satofuru, I think is one of them. Those ones, they tend to recently accept Amazon Pay as a payment form. You get an extra, 5% discount or something like that. So yeah, they're all partnering with Amazon, being all chummy. Amazon has now said they're trying to enter as a Furusato Nozei like one-stop catalog themselves.
That's going to be
from
brutal,
next year, I think. Yep. I've seen commentators saying, it's a Japanese thing to support Japanese shichosan, the towns and villages. The money should go through Japanese companies rather than to Amazon. And all this
I don't really buy that
relationships.
Argument. They're just sure, like, I can see Amazon coming in and like cutting the profit margins massively and just taking over the entire market. Because it's so much more pleasant shopping on Amazon than Rakuten, say.
Yeah, I tried to avoid it recently, but it is easy for many things. In fact, Andy mentioned the regular delivery thing. We do that. Takey bin, I think it's called, or or something like that. Yeah, tea bags and stuff like that.
I keep signing up for it by accident because I don't read the fine print carefully enough. Right. Then I have to call them up and be like, "No, I don't want."
Oh, really? Oh, no, use it. It's really good. But more and more I do try to find
slippery slope, isn't it?
We do have a lot of bottles of contact lens cleaner in the cupboard. I will admit that. Enough for about 3 years.
It's like some science fiction story about the computer that makes paper clips or something, just keeps delivering stuff.
Yes, yeah, kind of similar. So that's not happening till next year, but yeah, I want to watch out. I'm worried it's going to shake up, and it's all.
I mean, more competition's good, but not when you kill off the competition and then it's just Amazon.
when there's one big player.
Yeah. So you have some sins to confess to, I see.
Right. Yeah, I've got a few personal things. So I did drop in a couple of episodes ago, maybe. I had bought I'm bullish on the Indian stock market. We're talking about investing here. And I wanted to find an ETF that was India focused. And there is one. But then I saw there was an ETN, which is exchange traded note, as opposed to exchange traded fund. But you could still, buy and sell it freely through, SBI, Rakuten, whatever your stockholder, a stockbroker. And this one was leveraged. It was 2x. So it's not leveraged in the sense that you need to buy stuff on margin. You still just buy it, but it means when the the Indian index goes up, let's say 10 points, the ETN that you just bought will go up 20. It doubles, which means obviously it goes up twice as fast, but it also comes down twice as fast. And I'm bullish, and like obviously it's gonna go up long term. And I think I kind of still believe that. This is not investing advice at all. But then I don't know what came over me. I was just thinking, wait a minute, this is not fitting in with my strategy at all. My strategies for many, many years has been value and dividends. I look for shares that I think are cheap, and in particular ones that give me a dividend, unless it's an index, and then I don't worry too much about it. And this has neither. It's, I mean, maybe there is value, I don't know, but I just bought it for thinking that, oh yeah, India's going to go up, and it's 2x leverage, so yeah, let's do it. It's good for some people, but it just, yeah, not in my portfolio. So,
well, you know, a few years ago, I bought a 3 times Russian bull fund.
3 times, well,
3x.
even worse.
And luckily, I sold it before the current thing, so I didn't lose all my money. But the thing to remember about those funds is that they're really designed for short-term movements. And the fee structure and the way that they don't work the way you might think they do, in that, you know, over the long term, if it goes up by 10, you get 20. That's not really how they work. So that it's much worse for the holder if you they're not designed to be held for a long time. So it's very much a short-term kind of hedging instrument. So just be super careful when buying leveraged funds. This is for the audience. Like, I did it, and I was like, why is this not performing the way it says on the wrapper? It's because they don't work that way.
Okay. No, I didn't know that. So
yeah, you do not want to be holding it for months, let alone years.
Right.
It's very much a short-term thing that mainly institutions are using to hedge various things. So carpe emptor is what we'd say there. Buyer beware.
Yep. Right. Yeah, I should have known. Somebody in the chat is asking what the number was, the code. So
we're not going to tell you. If you want to buy instruments of financial destruction, you have to find them yourself.
Okay, I'll just stick with the ETF. So the regular ETF, I'm looking at SBI website here, and you can get ETFs, which is kind of like a mutual fund, but it's just tradable as a regular share is. And you get country ones, or you can get groups of countries. So you can get emerging market ones. And there is one for India, which is 1678. That's the code for that one. But yeah, you don't get any dividend from that as far as I can see. And now I'm thinking, so since then, I've actually bought the all countries. I've got 3 in a sort of, I've got within my big portfolio, I suppose. I've got sort of mini portfolios. And in this particular one, I've got the World All Country Stock Fund. There's the music again. I've got Emerging Market Bond, and then I've got Real Estate. That's international real estate. So I'm trying to get 3 things that are not really correlated. They're very sort of broad, so they're not relying on one particular country. And I'll try and keep those 3 balanced. So that feels more sensible than 2x India.
Definitely. But, you know, if you want to play with random stuff, just make sure you're not using more than 5% of your money, basically, for the audience.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, if you want to do Bitcoin, or you want to buy some random company, that go for it, but just use a small amount of money, and then you can actually learn from it rather than get damaged by it.
Yes, good point. When I got those, incidentally, I got that in the new Tsumitate NISA. So it suddenly occurred to me that we talk about that you can now have the 2 sorts of NISA in your single account. And I hadn't been doing it. I thought, oh, I can do Tsumitate NISA as well, because I tend to do the regular one. So I did. And you've been right. You said you can do it from as little as 100 yen. Like, yeah, I think it's probably 1,000. But no, I go there to set it up, and it says, how much do you want to put in each month? And it says 100 yen. There's no excuse not to. It's wonderful.
Exactly. Although none of my interns have come back to me yet. Like I did this thing with my wife's school has interns, which are basically university students. And I gave them a lecture. I said, look, if you all should open a NISA account, because it's a no-brainer. And
free
if
to
you
open.
open a NISA account, I will give you 500 yen to buy mutual funds with. And no one's done it yet. I'm really disappointed. So I'm going to have to follow up and be like, you're going to have to. Because my theory is if they open a NISA account and they buy something for 500 yen and they see it go up over the next 3 or 4 years, when they start working, they're going to be more willing to put their savings into it.
Yes.
And that will change their life for the better. So.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, these are tiny amounts of money that you can start with a very, very low risk.
Yeah. I was very surprised. No, I don't want this to turn into the Daniel show, but I have a couple of other bits of things. One, because of my back, we had to cancel a trip to Hawaii. Actually, it was the day before, and so I was really
that was
reluctant.
With that. You had the hotels and everything, didn't you?
Everything, but yeah. So this is because our son's studying over there. So really disappointed we couldn't go and see him. But I really put it off. Like, no, I'm okay. My wife was saying, you're not fit to go. No, I think I can. And then kind of thought about what would happen with the US healthcare system being whatever.
Yeah.
Bit of a nightmare. Don't have to pay stuff. So anyway, we cancelled it, and it was just over 24 hours before the flight was due to arrive, and it meant we had 2 separate hotels booked. One was more than 3 days or more than 72 hours, so that was cancelable. The other one wasn't, but I phoned up and they said if you can get a doctor's note, then you can cancel it. So officially on the website, you can't cancel, you can't get a refund rather, but for medical reasons where you've got a doctor's note, you can. Okay, but I'm in Japan, so it's going to be in Japanese. Oh, that's all right. Send it to my personal email address and I'll put it through Google Translate, which I did. And yeah, it was fine. It was cancelled. Everson, a really good service.
That is really nice.
Really impressive. And then with the
flights, I've had similar experiences with hotels where, if you email the manager or you reach out in person, people are really reasonable. So
yes,
always worth doing. If you're in that sort of, so you didn't have insurance for the trip?
Through the credit card. Okay. Actually, I might have.
That might have covered you for medical cancellation.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, for flights and hotels.
Oh, okay. So the flights turned out okay. So Hawaiian Airlines have this thing where you can change your flight for no fee. And they say this, as soon as in big letters, it's kind of one of their features. We've used it before and there wasn't a fee, but the prices happened to be a bit higher than when we booked it. This is last year. So this time, again, whether it's because of a medical thing, I'm not sure, but they've said that we can effectively have credit for our flight usable for up to the next 12 months or so, which is fine because we're still planning to go back at some point. So that worked out really well. We had a couple of tours booked and we were able to cancel those, and we had to pay the handling fee, but that was it. So anyway, in the end, we got pretty much all of the money back, but it did make me think that we were lucky this time, but in future, I'm going to look at refund policies for things I'd never considered before because, what's going to happen? But no, that's definitely something I'm going to be much more aware of now. And if this is a small surcharge, for me at least, I think it'll be worth paying.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
And also maybe health insurance, not travel insurance, because travel insurance is reasonable. I guess in the US it's a bit more expensive because they're covering the health potential costs.
Right.
But if you're going to Europe or something, it wouldn't be that much. And then that would, I think, cover the cost of flights and hotels and things.
That's true. I assume the credit card's going to cover us, but I haven't looked into it properly. So yeah, that's a good idea. And the second bit of news, so that's the time that I didn't go to Hawaii, and this time, the time that I didn't buy property. Well, so we had Ziv on the show a couple of months ago.
Yeah, you were really all gung-ho about going in and buying a little flat and becoming, the capitalist overlord class. First up against the wall when the revolution comes.
Yep. I was really sort of interested in trying it out, and the more I sort of looked into it and thought about it, the more I thought, I don't think it's a way to quick riches, and I'm sure Ziv would agree with that. But it also feels like there's not a lot of high risk there if you do the research and if you've got somebody you can trust. And so I went through Ziv. His official business is actually fully booked at the moment. They're not taking on new clients because they've got so many people, I guess, with the dollar, yen right now. They've got too many people. So he very kindly agreed to sort of advise me personally. as a sort of consultant role, and put me in touch with an estate agent that they work with. And so we went through various properties that the estate agent found, and then Ziv would then say, "Oh, that's a bit far from the station. Not sure about that one." We were looking at Fukuoka, which is also where my wife was. So, although Ziv would say that's good or bad, but my wife would also say, "Oh, I know that area. That's a nice place." It's all about, a lot of it, I think, is about just personal reassurance. And we found one that was good and a good price, and then we were going to go for it, and my wife was not as enthusiastic as I was. And it's obviously, for us, it's going to be a big chunk of money, so it's got to be something that we're both comfortable with. And in the end, we felt, okay, not yet. Maybe at some point in the future, but right now, no, we'll stick with basically stocks, individual shares, and then funds. That's what we've got our money in. It goes back, I think, to what Andy was saying about options. It feels like we've got many more options with that. So we're kind of just tied into the stock market, although I try to spread that risk by doing bonds and real estate funds as well. But if we do need the money for something, we can sell it, and in a day or two, we've got it. And
same week, isn't it? So
yeah, the property looks really appealing, though. It's having looked into it, it's much more appealing than I originally had thought.
Okay. It's something that I'm considering for the future. If our net worth continues growing at the current rate, at some point we're going to want to diversify. And maybe the tax benefits, the whole writing off depreciation against income and so on.
Yes, I wasn't sure how that worked, so I actually took some time to look into it. We were aiming at sort of our lower budget meant that we were just aiming at single mansions, one-room apartments, pretty small but pretty reliable. They're always going to be in demand, so that was like the safe side. But concrete buildings, and so the way the depreciation works, which is where you get your tax benefit from, a lot of it, you not get a lot back. You're not getting much depreciation, so you can't claim that much on tax after a while. I think the thing seems to be that you aim for wooden structures, and you're not going to get a mansion room that's wooden. So you'd look for the apato, like 4 units or 6 units or something like that. And obviously you need a higher budget to be able to buy a whole apato building. Then you're sort of more in control. You've got your good depreciation, your good tax benefits. That seems to be where it's really, really worth it. And maybe we should aim for that at some point in the future when we've got the funds.
But then you've got to rebuild the damn thing every 20 years.
Ziv would probably say sell it. I think he thinks that you do this for up to 10 years or so, then sell it on to somebody to do the same thing as you, and then you look for something else.
Who gets stuck holding it at the end,
Right, yeah. I mean, he's got a lot of experience of saying, okay, when a building is this old, that's the time that you should sell.
Okay.
It was still a really interesting experience to go through, and yeah, I would definitely turn to him again next time.
Okay. That's very much in line with my thinking, where I was like, it doesn't seem compelling enough compared to just having,
it depends on your
situation. liquid investments.
Right, yeah, but certainly for diversity, it was tempting, and for the tax benefits, kind of tempting. I didn't realize as well, but for inheritance tax as well, I'd heard it was helpful for that, but not didn't understand how. And it turns out that the inheritance tax that whoever inherits the property or whatever will have to pay is calculated based on the tax authority's sort of valuation of that property, which tends to be quite low rather than what it's actually
market
worth.
value.
Yeah. And so you pay less tax than you would if you had the same equivalent amount in the
cash.
Fund or cash, yeah.
But at the same time, I get the feeling that a lot of this kind of like, real estate's good for inheritance tax rhetoric is coming from people who sell real estate. There's all sorts of kind of scams where, they're like, this thing's guaranteed and you'll get rental income and then you can leave it to your kids and it will save you income tax and it will save you inheritance tax. And it ends up not doing that.
Right.
You end up buying a substandard property because you got told a story. So it's really definitely worth being very, very careful with real estate because it's such a big chunk of money.
Yes, that's one of the things that tipped it sort of in in the favor of not getting real estate from my wife's point of view is that she didn't really want to be stuck. If I disappeared, basically, if I died, she didn't want to be stuck with a property that she's not really enthusiastic about and it doesn't know how to get rid of. And if if somebody does it for you, you've then got fees and things to pay. And she doesn't know her way around that minefield. She wasn't comfortable with that. So
there's a TV show that my wife and I really like called Shojiki Fudosan. It's a kind of comedy drama. It's about this it's a real estate agent and he's struck by a curse where he can't tell lies. So obviously it ruins his career as an estate agent because he's always truthful with the clients, but it's really a fun little show. But they put in so much personal finance content that I love it because it's all about watching out for like scams and understanding the contracts and understanding how real estate works, as well as being a comedy drama. So there's 2 series of it. We watched both of them on TV. The second series just finished, but really good. If you can find it somewhere, really recommend.
Is that on regular TV?
Yeah, it was just on regular TV on Tuesday evenings. It finished last month, I think, the second series. Shojiki Fudosan, like really, I don't watch a lot of TV here, but I liked watching that show every week. So
sounds good. I like the premise for it as well.
Yeah, we had a quick question here about whether we're going to put this on YouTube. Yes, of course. It's also a podcast, so you can see the recording on YouTube from when it finishes, and also on all the platforms. So there'll be a recording on Facebook and LinkedIn and probably X as well. And there's also a podcast on Spotify, video and audio. So we're everywhere. You can't escape us.
For people who are on YouTube right now thinking, well, of course it's on YouTube, this is actually going out to various channels, not just YouTube. That's why. And the YouTube channel is youtube.com/RetireJapan_OG or underpart, or just search for Retire Japan on YouTube.
Yeah, some person has stolen the real Retire Japan. We're just the fake version.
Anyway, so going through other stuff on our agenda, we've got a bit more news, and of course, I'm sure people are aware of this, but the Bank of Japan historically has ended its negative interest rate policy.
Yes, very exciting.
Last month, wasn't it?
It's gone from minus 0.01 to plus 0.01. So yeah,
right. The headline is like, oh no,
everyone is underwhelmed.
Yeah. So nothing.
The yen
really
continues to slide. We're at what, 152 now to the dollar, I think.
Yeah, 53.
Oh my God, it's getting worse.
So Ben, all these people with mortgages, the Bank of Japan is now putting up interest rates. Should they be worried?
Well, it depends. So most people have a floating rate mortgage in Japan. Like me, I have a floating rate mortgage. So you can get fixed rate mortgages, but I think something like 70 or 80% of mortgages are floating. But the way they work in Japan is that they can't be changed immediately. So the amount you have to repay can only go up by a certain amount every 6 months or a year or 2 years. So there's a cap on how much it can go up. The interest rates go up, but your payments aren't going to go up necessarily as quickly. And I've had a 0.5% floating rate mortgage since I got my mortgage, and it hasn't changed. So we'll see. I don't think we've seen much effect on home mortgages. And I don't think we will, because that would be politically suicidal for the government if everyone who had a mortgage suddenly had to pay more every month. Like I just can't see that happen politically. So I'm not particularly worried. But obviously, if your mortgage payment is at the limit of what you can afford to pay, then it's probably worth making some changes. Cutting back on unnecessary spending, trying to get some more income from somewhere, because you don't want to be at the red line. You want to be comfortable. You want to be comfortably afford your bills. And if you're not in that position, now is the time to get ready, not when the bills go up. So.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I'm actually on a fixed mortgage because I thought interest rates would go up eventually. And so when I saw this, like, wow, thank goodness I got a fixed mortgage. And then it's like, it's like 0.1%. Okay, fair enough.
Well, I mean, my floating rate 0.5.
That's low. Wow.
Best in class. Low. I mean, 0.29. I think is the lowest
Still,
floating rate
even
mortgages now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can get better ones.
Yeah.
Fixed
That's
rate's
another.
about 1, right? 1%.
Yes, it was just under. And then so I don't know if I got a good deal or not, because they bundle insurance or something with it, life insurance or something. And so it was difficult at the time to understand, is this long-term a good deal or not? But in the end, it was just under 1%, I think we got. So yeah, we were happy with
That's
that.
reasonable. And the most important thing is that you can afford it. So we're
Yes.
not trying to maximize our economic return here. We're trying to, make sure that we have a comfortable life. So
Yeah, that's true.
if you can afford your mortgage payment and it makes sense for you and you got peace of mind, then great. You win.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we have then? This is something I noticed the other day. I finally got a D point card. The reason was I've got NTT shares, and if you hold it for a year or 3 years or something, they give you D points every year for
Of course they
the
do.
Kawanishi Yutai benefit thing. But you've got to have an account. So I opened an account, and then going through it, they said, "Oh, what do you want to do with your points? You can invest your points." What? And it seems like a kind of Ideco NISA
What
kind of
do you
thing,
get?
but
You
with
get more
D
D
points.
points.
I think you do. Yeah.
So the D points multiply.
Right, but
Awesome.
then you can, you swap those for miles or stuff. I get discounts probably.
I should probably get a Docomo point card, because every single damn shop is like, "Do you have a Rakuten card or a Docomo card?" I'm like, "No, stop asking me that question." But maybe I should, maybe I'm losing out on, thousands of yen a year by not having these things.
I can't work it out. So it seems, I mean, it's NTT, so it's not going to be a scam, and this is not investment advice again. But I can't work out, is this good or not? On their sort of, we'll put links later on in the description, but on their sort of page for it, they say 88% have come out on top so far when they've invested D points. And you can actually choose what you invest them in. So it's almost like choosing with the IDECO or something. And unfortunately, it's only got like little emoji pictures rather than actual descriptions. But there's a picture
You
of
buy the
gold there.
happy emoji.
Right. There's the American flag there. There's toilet paper for some reason. Anyway, so basically, you could choose these industries, I think, that you want to invest your D points in.
This
I don't
sounds
have
like
more details.
PayPay, because PayPay had that for a while,
Oh,
where you
really?
could invest because I got points for linking my number to PayPay.
Right.
And I invested them. They had like some funds in there, but I mean the fees are quite high. But what else was I going to do with my PayPay points? So I did that for a while.
They take out fees. Okay, I hadn't thought about that part. I don't think I'll be doing it, but it seems interesting. Right.
If you get Rakuten points, you can actually buy mutual funds with them, which I think is maybe more useful.
Oh, really? Wow.
Like in NISA, you can buy the same, you can buy the All Country Fund with Rakuten points.
Wow. We've got a comment from GTV Japan in YouTube. Thank you. I have a D point card. With it, I've generated so many points. I have never paid cash for fast food ever since. Wow.
Okay, so maybe I should get a D point or maybe a Rakuten card. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Every single damn shop is like, "Do you have a Rakuten card?" So
yeah. And they
I'm
must
just
be
being stubborn, aren't I? I just don't like point cards. It's just so low, high kind of mental bandwidth and low return that it's not. I just can't be bothered. I'm like, I don't want your point card. I don't care about getting a free whatever every 20 visits.
Yeah, so I'm reluctant about sharing my personal information with too many different services. I have a T point card, but I don't think it even has my address on, actually. And then it does make me wonder. They push these so much, don't they? And they all link together, and like there must be a big benefit for them because everyone's introducing point systems. So, and obviously, we don't pay extra when we use a points card or whatever. So where is all this money coming from? I'm sure it's selling data behind the scenes, but is there something else? There's some big benefit for the companies. There's got to be some.
Maybe it's just
negative
having
for
customer
consumers.
profiles and being able to target.
Yeah.
Not even
Yeah.
at the individual level, even at the shop level, where they're like, okay, these products work in this area with these demographics. Like, apparently, combinis, they profile you when they do the register. They're like, yeah, like 40s male kind of thing.
Really? I didn't know that.
Apparently, I don't know. It might be an urban legend, but apparently, when you go through a combini, they're actually putting down, male, whatever, and then it obviously it knows what you've bought as well. So
If they say 40s for me, I don't mind that. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, yeah. So point system. I mean, it's so well evolved. I hadn't realized. But yeah, there's something. There must be something.
maybe I'll get a Rakuten card because I would like to get some more all country fund with my combini purchases or whatever.
Yeah. Moving on. Next thing I heard. Oh, it was actually because Wise. So I think we both bank with Wise. Very good service so far. I've been very happy with them. And they actually sent an email saying they have now been granted a Type 1 funds transfer service provider license in Japan. I didn't know this, but there are different sort of levels of license for financial institutions. And they've got the Type 1, which I think is the best you can get for transfer service. So not just like any, they're not a bank yet. Well, I don't know. But they're not like a Type 1 global bank thing, whatever it is. This is just for the transfer service, but it means practically for you and I, we can now transfer over 1 million yen overseas. It's up to 150 million yen, which I think is the same for regular.
Yeah, I don't know if it's live yet. So they have that license, but I don't know if they've rolled it out to customers. And they were going to do it on a trial basis as well. So some customers may have this functionality, maybe not everyone, but yeah, it's coming. So that's pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you need to escape Japan and move all your funds overseas immediately, then maybe you'll be able to do it with Wise soon.
Yeah. Yes. Otherwise, you've got a 1 million yen limit, which is still a lot, I think. But I was wondering if that. I was wondering if that would mean that they also remove the restriction of having more than 1 million yen in your account
for a month.
For a month.
No, I don't think so.
But it doesn't. Yeah. But it seems like, I mean, maybe they're on that's the path they're on, and they're just being granted this sort of better license for different services, and it just takes time, bit by bit.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Anyway, if anything, it's just reassuring as a customer. It's like, okay, the government clearly trusts Wise, so that's reassuring.
And Wise are great. So if you don't use Wise for transfers and you have to send money abroad, whether it's to family or even to pay for things, pay for services, pay for businesses, it's wonderful. Yeah, game changing.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I think you put this on. We have a mysterious thing on the agenda called Polish plum chocolate on this personal finance podcast.
So my wife, there's a guy that used to work at my wife's school who's a really fantastic guy, Polish guy. He lives in London now, but he came to visit because he's got family in the area, and he brought this, which is Polish plum chocolate. And I was like, okay, but it's amazing. My wife loves it. She was like, you must buy this for me right now.
Can you get it in Japan?
I found it on Rakuten, but it's extortionate. It's so expensive. I'm sure it costs like 1/10 of that in Poland, but yeah, she must have it. So if you see this, if you're in Poland or in Europe and you see this for a reasonable price, definitely pick it up. So
to our podcast listeners, Ben is showing us the box which says,
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like Sluka something.
All right. Yeah, we might.
Maybe we can link to it. We'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, looks nice though. But yeah, I heard chocolate is just expensive in general at the moment because of
the
cocoa market.
The chocopocalypse or something. Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, I just made it up. But yeah,
it sounds good to me.
Like coffee is going to be die out basically because of climate change, which I'm incredibly upset about. I'm not sure I can live without coffee, so this is a very serious concern for me.
I read an article somewhere that was saying they're actually trying to develop coffee plants that can grow in higher altitudes, I think. So
Yeah.
it's more sort of adaptable to global warming, but still tastes just as good. And then
Hopefully.
even different regions of the world as well that currently couldn't grow coffee will be able to. So yeah, I think it'll just the whole coffee industry is going to somehow change because it's forced to with global warming.
Yeah, and you can't stockpile it because it goes off. So.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be reasonably fresh.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all the news that we have.
And we're on to the next section, Daniel's money tip.
I still haven't got my jingle.
Tune here.
Yeah. Yes, I had some electronic shopping spree recently. I wanted to get myself a GoPro to start recording. I like going. Well, my back is okay. I like going on hikes, as well as skateboarding tricks. Yeah, I like going on hikes, and I saw this really cool YouTube channel that just shows people this of you walking through towns, Japanese towns. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to do the same thing, but just walking through the Japanese countryside. So I got a GoPro, and then I love spreadsheets. So I made a spreadsheet looking at all the different places I could find one online and how could I find the cheapest one. And I thought it'd be interesting to share that here. One of my go-to places is kakaku.com. And so
huge fan.
people are probably familiar with this already. Yeah. I think it used to be electronics and now it's pretty much anything, isn't it? You've recommended it for financial products in the past, I think.
I always send people there for insurance, just for a first look.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can compare, they've got a search tool. So
yeah. So I recommend.
And I look at computers on there and then decide that it's probably okay to keep using my 2013 Dell XPS.
Right. Yeah. So kakaku.com, KAKAKU.com. Been going for a long time. And so first of all, I look at GoPro Hero. I was looking for a couple of models old because it turns out that it's just as good. It's compatible with all the latest accessories. I don't need the latest fancy stuff. So Hero 10, GoPro, loads of results come up. And so the first thing I learned is that if you can find the actual model number, which is CRHB71 or whatever it is, and then search for that in kakaku.com, you get a much shorter list and much easier to view.
Because it's not pulling in all the keywords.
Yes, it'll bring in everything to do with GoPro Hero 10, the case or the tripod or whatever. So that was useful. And then the next thing I noticed, it was showing me the Hero 10, and then it showed me the bundle kit. You can get the bundle, which will give you the little mini tripod and then an extra battery, I think, or something like that. And kakaku.com will show you the prices from all these different online retailers. And it showed me the price was cheaper for the bundle at Yamada Denki for some reason. And I thought, there's a bit of a glitch here. So I go to Yamada Denki, and sure enough, they're on the same. You search for a Hero 12 or Hero 10, it's gone now. But Hero 10, Yamada Denki, at that time, it was showing the two side by side. And it's got the little recommend icon next to just a regular camera. And just beside it, it's got the bundle kit for cheaper, which includes the candle, the camera. What? Anyway, I did a whole bunch of searching in other places. In the end, I went for that one. I was a bit wary because Yamada Denki gets 2.5 out of 5 satisfaction rating. Or is it 2.5 out of 10? Anyway, it's a really low satisfaction rating. And it turns out people are mostly complaining about the lack of communication when there's a problem, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of gave it a shot, and it arrived really quickly, and I've been very happy with it. Oh. So first thing was, look for bundles, including the thing you want, because you might find a good bug in there, and try to work out the exact model code if you can, because then I think that makes searching a little bit easier. You won't get all the peripherals and accessories in the searching list. So that's my first tip. If you're looking for a camera in particular, there is a website called JCamera, j-camera.net. And this is mostly for secondhand. I think it's only maybe for secondhand cameras, but it pulls in the stock availability of all these different smaller camera shops. Fujiya camera, Map camera, Naniwa camera, I think it is. And I don't really see these pop up in the sort of other places. So yeah, that's a good one. And So my second tip is when you're looking for a second-hand camera, if you look for Shinpin Doyo, which is just like new, or Mikaifu, which means unopened. This is Japan, so just like new means it is new basically. I bought things and they've been absolutely perfect, as you'd expect here. If you get those, and if you get them from a proper store, then you're going to get the guarantee with them as well. So I found you can save quite a bit of money like that. You're getting essentially a new item that maybe has been in their cupboard or something for a while, and you're still going to get the guarantee. And so linked to that, the online site for Hardoff, I assumed it was the same as Bookoff, but it's not. It's netmall.hardoff.co.jp. And they have got this database which sort of pulls in the stock availability of all these different Hardoff shops around the country. They rank them by condition. And again, they've got A for really good condition, or the letter N for effectively new or like new, again, including some unopened things. Depending on the shop, they will give you 3 months or even 6 months guarantee. I found the prices to be pretty good. So if you can get something unopened there with a 6 month guarantee, it's, from my point of view, it's basically the same as a brand new one, maybe 6 months instead of 12 months, but you're going to get it at a cheaper price. So I recommend looking at Hardoff as well. And then the final thing related to this, which in addition to the GoPro, I bought a, what is it? Insta360, you know, these sort of like 360 degree cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Present for my son, and looked all around and I found a good deal. And then I thought, I'll just check the official Insta360 website. And I go on there, and it's an older model they're trying to get rid of. You can buy it directly from them. And if you sign up for the mailing list, they'll give you the free, what do you call it? The invisible tripod thing. No, what was it? Selfie stick, that's it. But it's their special selfie stick that disappears when you actually play back the video, just for signing up to the mailing list. And so that's what I did in the end, because the price was the same as what I saw brand new on Amazon and places like that. And just looking at GoPro today, they've got a similar thing. You sign up through the official GoPro website in Japan, and they will send you a 15% coupon code when you sign up. Turns out that price is then kind of the same as the cheapest price you'll get on kakaku.com from other retailers, but you might feel a bit more reassured buying directly from the manufacturer. Yeah. So yeah, don't cross off the manufacturer assuming they're going to be more expensive, because they do seem to have deals as long as you sign up for the mailing list. So there you go. That's my electronics shopping journey, and a couple of tips there that help me, and maybe they'll help you.
Yeah, because I often get sucked into looking at cameras. So
yeah, me too. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's go through some forum posts that we've seen recently. So this is just quick fire style. I'm just going to talk about threads that are on the forum, so you can go and have a look at them if you're interested. First one is about how the Tsumitate portion of NISA works. So specifically the fact that you have a monthly order and how that works and how you can get around it if you want to get around it. It's an interesting thread for anyone using NISA. We had I was really concerned.
Wait a second, a monthly audit?
Order, sorry, not audit.
Oh, order. I beg your pardon. Oh, sorry.
No one's been audited yet, to my knowledge, with their NISA account. Second one was, I was actually really concerned to see this. So someone posted that they tried to go and see a Japanese warship that was docked in port and was open to the public, and they got turned away. And someone said, "Oh, it's only for Japanese," which I was gobsmacked with. I was like, I can't believe that. So I'm guessing there's some kind of misunderstanding there, but they didn't press it. They didn't kind of follow up and figure out what was going on. But yeah, I mean, seems a bit concerning to have a resident treated like that for something like that, you know. But so it's very rare. I haven't heard or seen anything like that, you know. So that was a concerning thread. We've got a thread about applying for PR with a spouse visa but without a job, and whether that's possible and how it might work and so on.
Oh, so maybe point out for anybody new to Japan, PR means permanent residence. That's
Yes,
the
which is
golden.
in many ways the best status of residence to have. It's the king of visas. There are some tax consequences, so be aware of those before becoming a permanent resident. But if you're coming from a spouse visa, it's the same. So there's no extra tax consequences of being a permanent resident over a spouse. But if you have a working visa, you are not liable for certain taxes that you would become liable for if you are a permanent resident. So be aware and make plans accordingly. We had a thread about bank recommendations for small businesses. So if you have a small business or you are a sole proprietor and you're in business and you want a specific bank account for that, it's not quite as simple as opening a personal bank account. You need a business bank account is more difficult to get.
Do you need a minimum amount as well? Amount of funds?
It seems like you might in some situations. So someone was talking about a 1 million yen limit kind of things. You might need 1 million yen to have certain types of accounts with certain banks. But the thread's pretty good. So it's worth checking it out. We had a discussion that I started about our net worth in March, because I kind of freaked out slightly because this year's been ridiculous. Just looking at what has happened to our stock market investments over this year.
Ridiculous in a good way.
Yeah. So I'm quite happy when things go badly, because but when things go too well, I get nervous. So I'm very nervous right now because things have gone far too well. Stupid. So something bad must happen soon to balance out all this good luck. We had a couple of discussions about the Emaxis Slim 8-way fund, which I'm not a fan of. So it's a big combination of different, foreign and domestic stock markets, REITs, bonds, etc.
I have that.
And
I got
also
that for my wife, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, you might want to check out Thread on the Retire Japan forum.
Yeah, she's the ultimate. I don't want to look at it ever in my life kind of person, and so that's why I went for that for her.
Yeah, and then another one about index-linked Japanese government bonds, which are index-linked. So if inflation goes up, they would also presumably go up. So that fund, whether it's worth having. We had a thread about UK debanking. So in the UK, many banks are now divesting themselves of non-resident customers. So people, since Brexit, basically. So they're saying, if you don't live in the UK, we're just going to close your account, and good luck. Maybe you can find a new bank, which is very difficult to do as a non-resident. So this has been happening with some banks. We had a thread about Rakuten credit cards and whether you need to get them if you want to use Rakuten securities for NISA, whether it's worth it with the points. We had a thread about what to do if you are made redundant. So if you lose your job, what happens in terms of steps? So what you need to do and what you might think about doing.
I had that happen a couple of times to me, and it was quite good. I thought as a foreigner, I'd be stuck, but I found, was it Hello Work? I found the system pretty good. It looked after me.
Yeah. There's all sorts of things that you probably need to be aware of. So it's worth checking out that thread if you're in that situation. And on a similar note, something about becoming semi-retired. So what you might want to do in that situation as well. And then finally, we had a thread about planning your own funeral. Which sounds a bit morbid, but it's becoming really popular in Japan now. It's called shukatsu, which is a play on words. So shukatsu, I think normally would be job search, but if you have a different kanji, it means end of life search. So it's basically researching the end of your life and what kind of arrangements you might want to make. So that might be interesting too.
Yeah,
if you are the planning type.
Yeah. Wow. All these threads, where can people go to find these threads? RetireJapan.com/forum. So, and you can read the forum for free. You don't need to register. You don't need to make an account. You can read it. If you want to post, you need to make an account. So, but that's
the first 5 times you post, they'll be moderated. And this helps us keep out mostly spammers and people who are not constructive members of the forum.
Yeah. And it's working so far.
So far, although I let a spam bot through. Someone told me, pointed it
Ooh.
out. So it was a crypto kind of AI powered
Oh,
thing that had vaguely, plausible responses with links to like some kind of crypto scam. So
oh dear.
they do slip through sometimes. If you see something suspicious, tell someone like me.
Right. Okay then. So to finish off, we've got Q&A. I haven't really seen any questions in the channel, but we have got one prepared. Did I put this on? I can't remember. I think I put this on it.
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah, I was interested to hear. We've recommended, or you in particular have recommended finance books in the past. Though a really good finance book to me is one that you'd be happy to read again. And so, which finance books would you be happy to read again?
See, that's very interesting because actually I was talking to someone today about finance books because they're staying in my office, which is why I'm not in my office. And they're like, "You've got all these finance books," and I'm like, "Yes." But the thing is, they all say the same thing, right? But I find it useful to read them because it keeps reinforcing the basic principles and the important principles, and you might notice details that are slightly different or slightly better, but it's generally every personal finance book is going to say roughly the same thing because the basic principles of personal finance are fixed pretty much.
Yeah.
There's no secret technique that is new, right? It's very, very clear what we're supposed to be doing. So for me, I wouldn't reread any particular personal finance book. I'll keep reading new ones and they'll say the same thing. The books that I would reread tend to be like business books or marketing books. So for me, Millionaire Fastlane, I found really, really useful in terms of just the mindset of how to be, how to have a company or how to be self-employed and how to sell yourself and create products that help people. And so you make money by helping people, not by, the other way. So that I'd read again. I've read it twice already. I'd probably read it again. And Oversubscribed, which I've read twice, and I'm planning to read a third time quite soon. So
Right. This is a relatively new book, I think, isn't it?
Oversubscribed.
Last couple of years.
Millionaire Fastlane's been around for a long time. Oversubscribed is new-ish.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Again, it's by Daniel Priestley, who we mentioned earlier in the show.
I might as well just have the Daniel Priestley fan show rather than anything else.
Yeah. Why would you read Oversubscribed again then? What makes it worth reading more than once?
It's just so relevant to Retire Japan. It's so relevant to my wife's business. And it's every single chapter is gold. So it's like, I need to be doing this. I'm not doing it enough. So you read it again, you kind of find new little things or you discover something new that you might want to focus on.
Yeah.
But both of those are business books. So if you're not, if you're not self-employed or you don't have a business, they're probably not very interesting.
Oh, okay.
I would, if you haven't read it already, I would read Your Money or Your Life, because that will transform your relationship with money. And I would read something like Millionaire Teacher or the Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, both of which are really easy to read introductions to the way you should be approaching investing.
Yeah.
But I don't feel the need to read them again because I've read 200 books that I just like them.
Yeah, I was thinking about how I would answer it as well. And I was going to say Your Money or Your Life. I was going to say, The Intelligent Investor. But again, it's kind of, once you've got the sort of the core concepts in your head, like, and you're following them, then you don't necessarily need to go back and revise that much. At least that's what I feel. So what I would enjoy, when I have gone back and read again, is things more based around a story. And so my first one is Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Probably only interesting for you if you're interested in the stock market as a whole. But it's fictional, but it's written like somebody's autobiography based around the 1920s, 1930s in America, stock investor. And it's really interesting. A lot of it doesn't really apply now. It's talking about the ticker tape and things like that. But it's the psychology is all the same, chasing things going up and then crashing and losing everything. I found that fascinating. One thing that really sticks with me is there was this one part where there's an old guy in the corner of the stock broking room or whatever it is, this wise guy who's lived through decades of stock investing, and somebody asked him, I'm thinking of buying this stock, what do you think of it? And his response is, well, we're in a bear market, and that's it. That's his whole advice. And then at another point it's like, well, we're in a bull market or something like that. And it's a really good lesson, I think. Like, don't go chasing individual stocks. It depends on what the market as a whole is doing.
It's like poker, isn't it? Where you play the person, not the cards. You play the environment, not the specific stock.
Yeah, I think so. And then one more, which I would like to read it again. This is the book that I first recommended to my son in terms of like basic financial education, and that's The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a pretty short read. It's written in kind of old style English. Some people I've seen have complained that it's hard to read. I found it not too bad. And it's little short stories set in ancient times, but each with a sort of nice personal finance point to it. And again, written as a story. So more than a textbook or a nonfiction book, it feels easier to read again for me. And my big takeaway from that, which really was like a light bulb moment for me, is the whole point of, so when people say you make your money work for you, okay, what does that actually mean? And so in the book, it's clearly talking about you take your coins and you put it somewhere so that those coins will have children, i.e. dividends or interest or something. And then over time, those children will have grandchildren. And so that's making your money work for you. So your coins generate more coins over time. Gold coins, because it's written in ancient times.
Yeah, in Babylon or something, right?
Yes, yeah.
Sumeria or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I have, really. Yep, that's Q&A. We will put some links into the description. Anything
and
else?
That was Retire Japan TV.
Yeah.
We'll be back next month.
Have you noticed the view count, by the way?
It's ridiculous, isn't it? I think this is because I haven't made any YouTube videos.
Thank you
Maybe I
so
should just
much,
stop
everybody.
making YouTube videos and
they'll be forced to come to this.
This is like 3 times what we've ever had before, right?
Well, we must have had a very good guest.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, all hundreds of phantom viewers.
Hopefully it's useful.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great. So when are we doing the next one?
Oh, that's a really good question. I should know this.
So we try to do these once every month.
Yeah. So the next one, I think we're scheduled for. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to decide again, aren't we?
Okay. If you subscribe to the channel, I think you'll get a notification because we sort of set aside the page in advance. And it's going to be a Monday starting at 8 p.m. Japan time.
Yep, you can find it on the Monday read every month. A week beforehand, we'll post it. If you're on YouTube, you'll get a notification if you're subscribed to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. And any other social media account, we'll be posting it there as well. Thank you for watching. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night and see you next month.
See you next month.